Today I thought it would be fun to pull out the polymer clay and make the dolls some olives and some pickles. Stay tuned and see how fun and easy this project is. Alright, our first project for today, we're making 3 different types of little snacky items for the dolls. We're going to make some black olives, some green olives, and some little tiny sweet pickles. So we're going to start with the black olives. And I do have a rather pathetically small black olive sitting here. That's my reference. I'm using it for shape, for color, for those types of reference points. However, I'm going to aim for a much larger olive for the dolls than that would be in scale. More of a jumbo or a colossal, whatever they call the bigger size of olive in the grocery store. This is what I had in my cabinet. Now, taking my black polymer clay, and I'm rolling it out to a cane that is just under 1/4 inch in diameter. This happens to be Primo. This is perfect. I will say you can use any brand of black polymer clay for this. And for all of the projects today, you can use any brand of clay you have. The thing I will point out and want to emphasize here is the firmer the clay, the better the end result on this particular project. While a softer clay like a Sculpey 3 will work fine, your end result will not be as nice looking, and you will probably fight with the clay a lot more to make it do what you want. The firmer clay, like a Primo or a Fimo, I wouldn't go as far as a Kato clay, but a Fimo or a Primo clay will be firmer. There'll be a little more work to get conditioned and ready to work with, but once they are ready to work with, they are going to work out much, much better. And now I'm going to cut this 1/4 inch snake down into some pieces that are about 3/8 of an inch in length. I'm going to line it up with my ruler since the end is it's got a pretty nice end on it. Move my ruler out of the way because as long as I have at least one piece of clay stuck to the side of my knife, I've got a gauge as to how long to cut these. And that's all I'm going to do for right this second. I'll do more off camera. Now, these all need to be rolled down into first a ball and then a lengthened ball. You want an olive shape. And I'll just do these 3 on camera right now. So now I have a wooden skewer from the kitchen, and I cut off the tip, and then I sanded it with an emery board. I like the diameter of this, but I didn't want that great big long point. I'm going to hold one of these in my fingers, and I'm holding it lengthwise, and I'm pushing the skewer in as far as I can. I don't want to go through the end, but I want to get pretty close to the end. And I'm redefining that olive shape. Now I'm going to take just a pointy tool. And we're not going to put the stereotypical cross cut in the end. I tried that and I found it to be very difficult to get it to look right. So for this time we're just going to put a hole in the end. And there we have it. We have a olive. So I'm going to do one more on camera. Then I'm going to turn the camera off. And I'm going to finish up with the rest of this cane I've rolled out. And I'm going to put these on my paper plate to bake. And then I'll come back and we'll do some green olives. So one more on camera. It's super simple. This is a really simple project. There we go. So I'll turn the camera off and finish these up, and then I'll be back. All right, now we're going to create some green olives with a little red bit in the middle of the little pimento piece. But we're going to start by making our green olive color. And I didn't have any clay that was quite the right size. Oh, by the way, this is probably the smallest green olive on the planet. When I went to the grocery store to buy olives the other day, that was literally the last jar of olives in the whole store. So what I have here is two colors. I didn't have a color that was that color, but I've got Sculpey 3 in camouflage green, and I have Fimo in sunshine yellow. So I am going to, and this, since it's a Fimo, it's going to take me a while to get this blended together, because we know Fimo is very stiff clay. So I am going to turn the camera off. I'm going to get this worked together and blended to a nice olive green color. And when that's done, I'll come back and we'll make some olives. All right, you can see that clay turned out pretty close to the same color as our olives, so I'm happy with it. So now it's just a matter of really the same steps. I am going to cut this. I am going to cut the end off this time because that end is not as nice and straight as the other one was. 3/8 inch pieces. And I'm going to follow this exact same procedure. I'm going to roll them into an olive shape, put them on the end of my skewer, and poke a hole. And I'll do it one on camera, and then the rest I'll do off camera because it's just a repeat of the black, but I think you might be able to see better. That end, pull it off carefully, and there we have an olive. So I'm going to finish up with this piece. I might do a few extra, I'm not sure. When I get those done, I'll come back and we'll make some little sweet pickles. All right, now we're going to make some of these little small sweet pickles. And for that, we're going to use three colors of clay. We're going to use 2 parts translucent. Translucent doesn't matter what brand it is, any translucent. 1 part of Sculpey 3 in camouflage green, or another equally dark kind of olivey green. And then just a teeny bit of black, again, any brand. So I'm going to turn the camera off and get this all kneaded together till it's nice and smooth and a consistent color throughout, which with this amount of clay is going to take me several minutes, and I don't want to bore you. So when I have this all mixed together, I'll come back and we will start making some pickles. All right, here's the color as it looks mixed. I know it looks a lot lighter than our pickle, but that's because translucent will lighten the clay in the raw state, and then once it's baked, it will look much darker. And there is quite a bit of translucent in here. So again, I have rolled a 1/4 inch snake, and don't worry about that. That is actually a piece of translucent that will pretty much disappear once this is baked. So now I'm going to use my ruler, and I'm going to cut this into 7/8 of an inch pieces. And they can vary a little bit. They don't have to be exact every time. I wouldn't go too much bigger, but slightly fatter pickles, slightly thinner, a few, make a few slightly fatter, a few slightly thinner, a few shorter, a few longer. It's fine. I'm going to take these pieces and I'm going to kind of round the ends off. I don't want a pointed end, but I also don't want the blunt end from cutting. So I kind of rounded it off. And I'm going to do that. And if you get too pointed of an end, you kind of just blunt that off with your finger. And don't worry about keeping these straight or perfectly round, because we're going to be texturing in just a minute, and a lot of the shape is going to change. But I like to pre-shape it this far before I go any further. Just keep in mind that some pickles are straight, some are curved. Oh, it's got a little bit of black that didn't get mixed in. That's okay. It won't matter. Final result. Now, I have a scrubbing. I call this a scrubby pad. I don't know exactly what the technical term is. You find them where you find the stuff to wash your dishes in the grocery store. They're a textured pad, and I think you can get them at Dollar Tree sometimes too. It's one of my favorite clay texturing tools. Now be careful that you don't push down so hard that you make this thinner, but it's going to add a lot of texture to your pickles. So we're going to roll this on here. And that little black spot, that's okay. It'll be fine. I'm not too concerned. That one got really skinny, that's fine. Then once they're textured, I'm going to bend them, just some of them. I'm not going to bend all of them. I'll bend part of them, and some I'll leave straight. Make sure you get the rounded ends. Roll it around until you have good texture. And I'll texture the rest of these. Then I'm going to put everything onto a paper plate. I'm going to bake it at 250 degrees for probably about 15 minutes, because some of these are getting up to about 1/4 inch in diameter, and the clay requires that. I am baking slightly lower than the package says because my oven has been giving me trouble where it goes up and down, and it raises up above what I consider a safe zone when I set it at 275. Everything is baking fine for me at 250. So when these are baked and cooled, I'll come back and we'll look at them and we'll put a clear finish on. All right, everything is baked off and cooled, so I'm going to pull everything except the green olives off of the plate at this point because I want to put some little pieces of red clay in there to represent the pimento in the center of our green olive. So, for that, I have some red Sculpey, and I won't need very much, probably about that much. It's probably too much, but I want to take just the tiniest bit of this yellow we used earlier, because I want to make that just not really orange, but just a little bit not so cool of a red. So I am going to mix up that little bit of yellow and this red. When I get these all mixed, I'll come back and we will fill those green olives up. All right, I've got that all mixed. There's a few little lumps of yellow, but that's okay. So I'm going to take just a little bit of TLS and put it out here on my tray. And then, because remember, TLS, translucent liquid Sculpey, works as a glue. Take off just a little bit of that. And my fingers are all red from playing with red clay. Just stick just a little bit of TLS down in there. You don't need much. And just stick a little bit in there. You can put more or less in yours depending on how much of the filling you want in your olive. So I am going to continue stuffing my olives. When I get them all stuffed, I'm going to bake them at 250 again for probably about 5 minutes. This is a pretty small piece of clay. And when they are cooled down again, I will come back and we will put a clear finish on everything. So I'll be back when these are done. All right, I have these all baked and cooled. So we've got the little red showing. So now we're going to put a finish on these. And I've got my paper plate. I'm going to put a piece of parchment paper on there because I'm just going to leave them on here to dry. I'm going to put these over here. I'm going to hopefully I get everything on this one area. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some matte Mod Podge. And I'm just going to squirt a little bit. And I've got a paintbrush. And I'm just going to kind of wipe this around and try and coat everything pretty light. I don't want very much Mod Podge on here. I want a really thin coat, but I do want a coat. I want it to look finished. I want them to look wet. Polymer clay always looks quite matte when it's done, and if you add just a subtle amount of gloss to it, it makes it look so much more realistic. But you don't want too much gloss. You don't want it to look like plastic. So I am going to get this all spread out on all of these pieces. And then once they're dry, we'll take a close-up look at these and see how they look all done. And our Mod Podge is all dried. I think these look so cute. They have a lot of detail, and yet they were super easy to make. And let's pull the dish up with the real ones in it so you can kind of get an idea that colors are pretty good, the shapes and the sizes look good. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you learned something. If you did, hit the like button. Leave me a comment. If you enjoy my content and haven't subscribed, hit that subscription button and the notification bell so you know when I put up a new video. Check the blog post for pictures and more details about what clays were used, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.